call the Foreign Relations Committee to order, and I want to thank everyone for being here. I want to thank our witnesses, which I know will be invaluable in helping us understand this topic. I want to thank Senator Cardin for agreeing to have this hearing and for changing the time. We had a little blow up on the Senate floor yesterday, which changed our committee process to a degree, and I want to thank him so much for being so cooperative on all issues and working with us. I'd like to, on the front end, talk about what this is not about today. This is, to me, not about the substance of any treaty. That's not what this is about. I actually have been a part of supporting arms control treaties. I think I played a pivotal role, as a matter of fact, in the New START Treaty, when we were able to do things that enhanced our nation's security by getting commitments towards modification of our nuclear program, modernization of our nuclear program, where we have warheads and guidance systems that are outdated, and we had through that process, we got the administration to commit to that modernization, which they've been on pace, not quite at the levels we'd like for them to be. Over the course of time, there's been a little bit of a detour this year, unfortunately, but it's moved along to a degree. We had commitments on missile defense that were part of the RUDs that I helped craft, and look, I'm proud of what I did in that particular case, and this is not about being against arms control. This is about one thing, and that is all of us run to serve in the United States Senate. We come here, we know what a privilege it is to weigh in on important issues. And this is really about one thing, regardless of who's in president, regardless of who's chairman of the committee, regardless of who is serving, and that is to ensure that the Senate plays its appropriate role as it relates to international agreements. This agreement could be about apple pie, and I would be bringing this hearing together. So I just want to, again, try to set the context, and I know that Senator Cardin and I have talked about this on a couple of occasions. This is not about trying to pass judgment on the Comprehensive Test Ban Agreement. That's not what this is about. It's about trying to understand what it is the administration is doing. They're on the way out the door. We understand that administrations try to create legacies. And there is a concern, I think it's a legitimate concern, about going to the UN Security Council and bypassing the Senate, possibly, and that's what this is about. We haven't seen the language yet, but possibly causing something to, in essence, become binding. I know that today our policy relative to testing is that we don't test. That's fine with me. That's a policy. It's been a policy that's been around for some time. What I'm concerned about is that the administration is taking steps that possibly, again, we haven't seen the language, could take that policy and turn it into something that is binding through customary international law down the road, which makes it difficult for a future administration who may want to have a different policy for whatever reasons from being able to move in that direction. I read a brief, I wrote a letter to, by the way, I did write a letter to the administration regarding this, and I want to thank them. Well, first of all, I called Samantha Power and asked her to tell me what it is they were up to. She wrote me a letter, which I appreciate greatly. Because of ambiguities that existed in that letter, I wrote a letter to the President telling him I had significant concerns because some of the language certainly had ambiguities and could in fact be interpreted to be something that creates customary international law, which could create some binding effects on future administrations. I just got back today, I haven't read it, it was just handed to me, it's still hot. I just got back a response to that letter, which I appreciate, and we certainly will look at that. But we went through and looked at what is happening here. This gentleman named David Koplow, who is a professor of Georgetown Law, who basically has written the playbook for the administration or for anyone who wishes to cause something to be binding on our country through going straight to the UN Security Council versus causing something to be brought to Congress and through the United States Senate to have a treaty ratified. And so it looks to me like that, I don't know if they even know this gentleman, I don't know this gentleman. It looks to me like, based on what's happening, that they were following, if you will, a game plan that has been laid out. Again, they may have laid it out themselves. So I just have concerns, and I appreciate having two brilliant people here before us to help us with this. I want to reiterate with my good friend, Senator Markey coming in. Senator Markey, to me, this has nothing to do with the substance of the treaty itself. It has to do with the fact that you are a respected senator from Massachusetts. You have a role to play here in determining things that bind us as it relates to foreign policy. And I just want to make sure that we are not allowing an administration on the way out the door to do something that ends up binding us through customary international law down the road in taking actions at the UN Security Council that I would deem to be inappropriate if that were the case. So with that, thank you for your patience and let me speak longer than I normally do, Senator Cardin, our great ranking member. And I think that we agree on this topic, and that is, and I'll be very specific because I don't want to speak for you, and that is that we want to make sure that we do everything we can together to preserve the prerogatives of this committee, preserve the prerogatives of the United States Senate in being able to carry out our responsibilities. This is my editorial comment that I'll add on. I'll just tell you, I've watched through the years, and the responsibilities of the United States Senate have eroded. And I'm just here today with this hearing and pushing back against the administration to try to make sure that we do everything we can to ensure that that is not something that continues. So with that, again, our distinguished ranking member and my friend, Senator Cardin.